Hello everyone, let's cover a topic about the industrial development of Kazakhstan in the second half of the 1950s. It all began with the implementation of the task outlined in the sixth five-year plan in the national economic development of the country for 1956 and 1960. The main directions of this plan were determined by the 20th Congress of the CPSU. The new five-year plan consolidated and developed the progressive trends that had emerged in the industry in the previous years. Its high rates of development, it was drawn up taking into account and the decisions of the July 1955 plenum of the Central Committee of the CPSU and the 20th Congress of the Party on accelerating technical progress in industry. One of the central issues of the five-year plan, as before, was further improvement of the placement of productive forces in the country. Comprehensive development of the economy of all Union republics, in particular the industry. The development of the industry of the Kazakhstan was closely linked to the general task of full and accelerated use of the vast natural resources of the eastern regions of the USSR.
In the 1950s, the construction of a number of large industrial enterprises began in Kazakhstan, including the Karaganda metallurgical plant and the Sokolov-Sarabay mining and processing complexes. In total, almost 700 new enterprises were put into operation in the 1950s, including large ones such as the Uсть-Kamengorsk lead zinc plant, a series of hydroelectric power stations on the Irtysh River, and the rapid development of the railway network, which reached 11,470 kilometers by 1960. In 1958, the Kazakh Railway was established, uniting the main lines passing through the territory of the Republic. The reform of 1965. The obvious inadequacy of Khrushchev's reforms led to new changes in the organization of economic management. In 1965, sectoral ministries and agencies were re-established. Along with this, enterprises gained some autonomy. Economic calculations were introduced, providing incentives for labor. For this purpose, new indicators were introduced at enterprises: the cost of sold products, the total wage fund. Incentive funds were organized, bonuses for overfulfilling plant indicators were awarded. In Kazakhstan, in 1966, 11 large enterprises were transferred to economic accountability. By the end of 1967, 193 enterprises in the Republic were operating on new management principles.
However, starting from the early 1970s, reforms began to resurface. Authorities started reverting to conservative economic models, with the main efforts directed towards the development of defense, heavy industry, and energy. Through increased foreign raw material sales, there was a widespread procurement of foreign equipment from 1972 to 1976, resulting in a fourfold increase in equipment imports. Simultaneously, a process of economic centralization, standardization, and intensified control over a vast number of norms and rules began. Two prices were assigned to each product, wholesale and normative, leading to a recalculation of all domestic transactions throughout 1982. Consequently, inflationary processes started gaining momentum. Another factor contributing to escalation of crisis phenomena was the demographic situation in the USSR. From 1975, there was an overall decline in the proportion of the working-age population nationwide, making it challenging to expand industrial production through the mass recruitment of new labor. Kazakhstan remained predominantly a raw material base, with government agencies and ministries managing the economy, and up to 60% of the required goods were imported from outside the republic. In conclusion, the cultural development during the 1950s to 1980s was an ambiguous process. Alongside undeniable successes in various fields, there were evident crisis tendencies in the cultural sphere, primarily influenced by the national policies of the USSR. There was a gradual reduction in the use of Kazakh language, with 95% of books and 17% of television broadcasts being in Russian. All official documentation was conducted in Russian. In the 1960s and 1970s, Russian became the primary language of higher education and science, leading to a decline in the number of school teaching in the Kazakh language. As a result, by the late 1970s, about a third of Kazakhs did not know their native language at all. This situation contributed to a decrease in the audience for Kazakh language literature and a general sense of discomfort in interethnic relations.